Jungle is the most complex role in League of Legends. Trust me, I play jungle. It's the only role that has the ability to be anywhere on the map throughout the entire game. At any given point in time, there are a ton of things a jungler could and possibly should be doing. Because of this, the jungler's time is very valuable, and it's important to understand how to prioritize it. As a laner, it's also important to understand what your jungler should be doing, so you know when to flame them. How a jungler should prioritize their time depends on the champion they're playing. Ideally, a jungler should know the strengths and weaknesses, not only of their own champ, but the enemy junglers as well. In order to make this easier, it's helpful to simplify the different aspects of the role in a way which highlights the differences between champions. To explain what I mean, I made this simple visual tool. I call it the Jungle Rubric. It uses 5 metrics that correspond to the different ways a champion can succeed in the jungle. They are clear speed, which is pretty self-explanatory, how fast can they clear the jungle. Objective taking, how fast and safely can they take dragons and other neutrals, bonus points for being able to smite well. We have ganking, how good are their ganks, bonus points for not needing long cooldowns. Fourth, we have skirmishing, which covers smaller early fights in the river, such as for the crab, for an objective, or during an invade. And lastly, we have scaling/team fighting. How well do they contribute to winning the game for their team as the game goes later, usually through winning team fights. By taking a champion and scoring each category on a 5-point scale, we can help understand the identity of that champion. Of course, these categories, potentially besides clear speed, are not directly measurable, and so do not have objective answers. However, that doesn't make the rubric useless. Let's try looking at an example. This is how I would fill out the rubric for Nunu. He's perhaps the best ganking jungler in the entire game, with long range, fast ganks that can bypass wards with sheer speed, and rely only on an ability with a base cooldown of 14 seconds. He takes objectives pretty quickly with his Q, which also gives him an incredibly safe smite. However, he isn't very good at extended fights or 1v1s, and he gets outscaled very quickly unless he's very ahead or building full AP. But if you're doing that, you're pretty much just playing a different champion. While we might disagree by a few points here and there, I think most Nunu players would generally agree with my assessment of his strengths and weaknesses. If we compare this to another rubric I filled out for Karthus, we can see that these champs are very different. The point of the rubric is not to indicate that more points equal a better champ, but rather to understand relative strengths and weaknesses so you can integrate them into your gameplay. In any given game, both junglers will want to play to their strengths while avoiding their weaknesses. In this matchup, Nunu wants to gank as much as possible, while Karthus wants to AFK farm and if possible take away Nunu's camps while he's off ganking. Nunu's ideal fight is quickly catching and then bursting champions before running away. Karthus would much rather bait enemies into an extended fight where he can rack up damage and use his passive to its full effect. As a jungler, you can use these general pointers as a way to direct your own game, and as a laner, by being aware of what both junglers want, you can know what to be careful of and what state you want to push the game towards. Of course, this was a very specific example, but hopefully I have explained the general ideas behind the rubric well enough that you can now start applying them yourself. When loading into your next game, try to quickly consider how you would rank both junglers on each metric and see if there are any large gaps that you should keep in mind. If you play jungle yourself, you could try filling out rubrics for the champs you play. This will likely help you identify whether the way you play fits your champion's identity. You could also try filling out rubrics for some of the champs you dislike playing against, in order to get a better grasp of how you should be playing around them.